In the next couple of weeks, we're going to take a look at the basics of placing the overall building shell. We will look at placing site topography, floors, walls, windows, doors, curtain walls, stairs, and loading families, and then come back to those details as we progress during the semester. So we'll start with big scale and break it down into a smaller scale. So let's get started by using the architectural template to start a brand new project. Here under projects, we'll pick architectural template. If you don't have this list of templates because you're using an older Revit, then just pick new and you'll have a drop down that you can choose the architectural template in. There are so many different ways of customizing this interface. It's very similar to other software programs where you have the ribbon with all the icons. On the top of the properties palette, hold your left mouse button down and drag that palette out. You can do the same thing with the project browser. You can even put one on top of the other and use tabs. But for now, since you're just starting off with Revit, you can hold your left mouse button down on the project browser and come to the left side until it changes shape and let go. And then with the properties, same thing. Hold your left mouse button down, bring this one over to the right hand side all the way over until it changes its shape. Wait for it and then let go and it can dock on that side. You can use the wheel of your mouse to zoom in the project screen. So the project browser holds all of the views that you'll be opening of this BIM model. It's building information modeling. Instead of having several separate drawings, we're going to have one model of all of the information and then create different views of that information and then drag and drop these views onto the sheets. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is save the file. Let's go up to here, the big application menu, and pick save, or click on the floppy disk icon here in the quick access toolbar, and then navigate to the folder that you're saving your files in. Let's change the name to assignment 1 and then put your name in here after assignment 1. Go ahead and pick save. Then pick the wall icon at the top left. And notice that we are using the generic 8-inch wall by default. If you click on this basic wall generic 8-inch, you'll see all the different wall types that we can use that we'll come back to. We're using this generic 8 basic wall. And look at the different tools that we can use to draw walls. Everything from drawing lines and rectangles to arcs and circles and even picking lines. Let's use the rectangle tool and the draw panel here. And then notice in what's called the options bar that we can change the height of the wall. We'll keep that at 20 feet. And change the location line of where you're drawing the wall, whether you want it to be the interior face or the center line, and other options. If you want to offset the wall from maybe a column center line, you can offset it from the points that you're picking. Here I'm going to left click, pull your mouse across, and left click again. To end the command, use this escape key or pick this modify button at the top left corner. It will end the command. Then select one of the walls. You can use the wheel of your mouse to zoom up and down and hold the wheel down to pan like other programs. Or if you don't have a wheel on your mouse, there's a navigational tool here, and because we're in the floor plan, there is a 2D wheel. If you click that, you'll see that the wheel goes on the end of your pointer. You can use zoom here. Hold your left mouse button down now to zoom, or pan. And rewind is sort of like previous. So you have several previous views. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that 2D wheel. With one of your walls selected, you'll see these small little arrows that represent the exterior side of the wall, and also temporary dimensions that show you the dimension from center to center. If you want to change that witness line, you can click here on this little circular grip and see that it changes to the inside face. If you click on it again, it'll go to the outside face. Click on it again, it'll go to the center. So if you'd like to change that to the inside face, you can do that for both of these. Click on here the number, and if you type in just the number 50 or 60 and without feet or inches, Revit will automatically default to feet. If you select the number again and this time type in 50 space 6 without any units and enter, Revit will understand that it was 50 feet 6. If you only had inches, then you would have to force the inches in with the quotation marks next to the enter key. It would be a shift here, quotation marks next to the enter key on the keyboard. So you go ahead and use whatever number you'd like, because you will be creating your own floor plan based on the tools that we're learning. If later on you'd like to make that a permanent dimension, you can click on the small dimension icon to make this temporary dimension permanent. I can select here a horizontal wall to take a look at the vertical dimension and change this to whatever you'd like to use for your layout. Keeping in mind that you're establishing here with the witness lines the extent of those dimensions. Press escape. Before we go too much further, I want to add this presentation that these 4 boxes with arrows pointing towards your objects are the elevation markers. If they're getting in the way because your project is bigger than this working area, you can hold your left mouse button down and put a box around those to select it, and then hold your left mouse button down and kind of drag it away from the object. These later on in the second video will become important to us when we're looking at the elevations of your project. And let's use the wall tool again. This time we can change the height where it says unconnected to level 2. So we're going to create a wall that goes from level 1 to level 2. And if we have the check mark in chain, then we're creating several walls that when you click, you can continue clicking and draw several walls. But we're going to take the check mark out of chain so that we can place interior walls, and we'll go over here to properties and change the wall in the type selector, it's called, to interior 4 7/8 partition, or whichever one you'd like to use. And now I can click here, pull my mouse down, and click here. And notice that the wall ends because I don't have a check mark in chain. So you go ahead and create your own floor plan, and then use escape to select the door icon. You'll see in the type selector that one door is loaded and several sizes of that door, but there are several doors that we can load. They're sort of like blocks in AutoCAD, but they're called families. You can load families by starting a tool like windows, doors, and walls, or you can see them in the Insert tab under Load Family to load them all at once. So let's go ahead and pick the Load Family icon, and you should be directed to the U.S. Imperial folder here under libraries, so that when you scroll down you can see all of the different folders that have these families in them that we can use. You can also find these online at the Autodesk website and several other websites like Revit City and Revit Kid and several others that we'll talk about when we look at families with more details. We can double click on doors, and if you just highlight one of the doors, you can use the arrow key on the keyboard to see that we have these bifold panels, doors, and double flush. So you decide on which type of door that you'd like to load. You can change the door here in the type selector, and before you place it, getting close to the wall, use your space bar to change the swing. And notice the temporary dimensions will help to guide you through the distance between the wall and the door center. Or you can change the location of the witness line like we did the walls. Even after you place these doors, you can select the door and use these little arrows to change here the swing of the door, and here flip it to the other side. We can use mirror to mirror these doors. If you hold your control key down, you can select more than one object, and then the panel, the ribbon changes its icons for modifying that object. And then you'll see that there are two different mirror tools. One is you actually drawing a axis, or you can pick an object like a wall to be the mirror line. And if you rest your pointer on some of these icons, you can watch the video that loads and shows you a representation of that icon, of that tool. So because we have a wall, we can pick here mirror, pick axis, and we can pick this wall or whatever wall that you're using in your layout to mirror those objects. If we pick the window icon, we can do the same thing by loading here several different windows. There is a window folder here at the bottom of the U.S. Imperial folder, and you can scroll through to find the different windows that you might want to use. If you need to delete an object, you can select it and pick this red X here. And then we also have an undo icon that's at the top left. That's the arrow pointing towards left, and then a redo that will redo that last undo. We can also place components, which are objects like furniture. We'll go up to component and place the component. Some of these components are already loaded, so you can click on load family, and in the Imperial folder you can scroll down to furniture or furniture systems. We'll take a look at lighting when we work with rendering. You also have some plants and entourage, which we can come back to when we render. We'll be using some of the people here. So if you'd like to use a van or a beetle, like I said, there are several online that you can find that are family files. They're actually an extension RFA. You go ahead and load several of these to enhance your drawing, and also load the female and the male. So hold your control key down and select those two. It's up to you which entourage files that you use. The RPC files are the rich photorealistic content files that will look like cardboard figures until we render or use the photorealistic visual style. We'll be taking a look at that. So load the male and the female and pick open, along with others. And when you're placing the people, the arrow points in the direction that they're facing. So you can use the space bar before you place it to change the direction of the way that they're looking. But more importantly, when you select that entourage or that person and you see here that it's a female and it's Cynthia, there are some settings under edit type that will show you which person that will look like. You can click on her name here, Cynthia, under the render appearance and see a picture of Cynthia. So if you really look at this person is sitting down, although the cardboard figure looking here does not show it sitting down. You have to kind of look at the person and see what they appear to be. I will include image of all of the people when we start to render. So going back to placing a component, I should go to furniture and load some of the seating. So I might want to use a Corbu chair or one of these executive chairs for my project. And when we start to create views and look at this in 3D, you'll be able to move the person onto the seat or vice versa, or move them within the drawing. You can, though, select your objects, use the temporary dimensions, or hold your left mouse button down and drag that object in or out of place. Also, once it's selected, you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to move the object, or select the object and pick the move here icon, and then pick a point where you want to pick it up and pick a point where you want to put that object. So you go ahead and design your own layout. I'm going to go ahead and delete these windows here, and then split this wall and change the wall into a storefront. So if we select the wall, and then in the modify panel you can see that there are two ways that we can split the object. If you watch the little video, you can see if you split element, the element there disappears. If you split it in with a gap, then you have a little gap and you can swap out that wall. So we'll pick split with gap, and I'm just going to you can use your temporary dimensions to get it exact, but here I'll just pick here and here, and then use my escape key. You can select that wall and drop this list down and change it to storefront. We'll take a look at curtain wall. If you use curtain wall, you're really placing just a sheet of glass. With storefront, we can change the spacing when we go to the 3D view. Let's go ahead and pick here storefront. Also, if you select the back wall or one of your walls and change it to a maybe exterior brick on metal stud, when you look at the wall, you won't see that much detail showing, but at the bottom left corner, that first icon in these visual displays is your detail level. So right now we're looking at coarse, which is really not showing the details. If we change this to fine, then you can see that the view changes so that you can kind of see the inside components and materials of that wall. We'll come back to walls as we start to look at more details. So the modify panel has several other tools like rotate and copy and trim. If you look at the video, you'll see that it helps you to extend walls together or trim them back, and other tools that we'll be working with, including here the offset command that we would see in AutoCAD that allows you to offset a wall at a specific distance. Before we go to the 3D view, let's go ahead and place a floor in this level 1 view. You can click on floor and floor architectural, and we have, in the same way as several other tools, this right side of the ribbon that changes and gives us all of these draw tools to work with. We'll use the rectangle tool to draw a rectangle floor here, a floor from the top left corner to the bottom right corner here. When you see the double magenta lines, you'll know that that is the direction of the span, and you can change the span direction here, or when you pick lines or pick walls, the first one that you pick will determine the direction. So once you've created your sketch with these purple, magenta lines, you can pick the green check mark and see your floor that you created. Escape out of the floor tool, and now we can go to the 3D view and take a look. One way to get there is to use this little house icon in the quick access toolbar, or you can go to the view tab and use this house icon. It's not in the project browser yet until we go to the 3D view. Now you'll see it in the project browser. I'll go back to the architecture tab because that's the one we've been using, and you'll see that you have a floor. When you go close to the edge of the wall and the floor, you can see the blue highlight, and even use the tab key to tab through the different objects that are close to that intersection. There it is there, the floor, the wall, by using my tab key. Let's go to the level 2 view and put a floor. This time we'll use the rectangular option and then create a different shape for your floor. So here I'll draw a rectangle, and then if I use my escape key, I'm still in the sketch mode. I can take this straight line out and possibly use an arc, start, end, radius, start, end, and then give it here an arc. If you want to create an opening in the floor that's has a little more interest, it's up to you. It's your design. Once you finish the sketch, you can go ahead and pick the green check mark. It will ask you if you want to attach the walls to the bottom of the floor, which is a choice. I'll go ahead and pick yes. And now if you go back to the 3D view, you can actually use the project browser to double click on that view. You'll see your floor.